Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernest Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. The Week 15 NFL slate's coming around the corner. The NFL playoffs are coming up as well. And some teams that are in the hunt, they really need a win if they're going to be able to make the NFL playoffs this year. A lot of the underdogs won last week. Will the underdogs win again this week, or will the games go as more people expected to? And all 32 teams are in action, so there's 16 games. There's no more buys. I'm going to break down who I think will win each game, so let's get into it. On Thursday Night Football on Prime Video, you have the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams are 5-8. Justin Herbert, he's out for the season. Easton Stick is going to have to try to fill in to the best of his ability. Guys like Joshua Dobbs and Jake Browning, though, performed very well in their first start filling in for an injured quarterback. Will Easton Stick do the same? We're going to have to find out. For Las Vegas, though, Jimmy Garoppolo has been benched for the last few weeks, and Aiden O'Connell has come in, but he struggled as well. The Raiders didn't even score a point last week against the Minnesota Vikings. The Chargers weren't much better, only putting up 7 points against the Denver Broncos. Both teams are on the fringes of the NFL playoffs. With a loss, they're probably eliminated. Even with a win, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. But I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers to beat the Las Vegas Raiders 17-14 on Thursday Night Football. I just feel like the Chargers might have a little bit more offense than the anemic Las Vegas Raiders. Up next, you got the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals to kick off the triple header on Saturday in the NFL on NFL Network. 3 big games on Saturday. All these matchups are very intriguing as well. Minnesota's 7-6 and Cincinnati is 7-6 as well. So both these teams need a win to stay on the right track for the playoffs. Joshua Dobbs, though, has been struggling the last few weeks. He's not putting up the same stats as he was when he first became the Vikings starter. But Jake Browning, he played great last week in the Bengals win over the Indianapolis Colts. Was that lightning in a bottle? Will he be able to continue to play that well? Who knows? But it is at home for the Cincinnati Bengals, which helps out their cause a lot. Minnesota, they've really been struggling on offense the last couple weeks. I expect that to continue this week, and I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Minnesota Vikings 24-17. This should be a really solid matchup to kick off the day on Saturday afternoon in the NFL. Both teams need a win, but I think the Bengals are going to find a way to get it done. Then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the Indianapolis Colts at 4:30 on the NFL Network. Both these teams are 7-6, just like the Vikings and Bengals, so they're in the playoff hunt. They need a win. Pittsburgh last week lost to the New England Patriots. That was an abysmal loss, whereas the Indianapolis Colts, they did not look good last week, either losing to the Bengals. Both teams have been struggling lately, but Mitch Trubisky filling in for Kenny Pickett, who's out with an injury right now. He is not performing well, so much so that a lot of Steelers fans want to see Mason Rudolph inserted in the lineup. Gardner Minshew, he's had his fair share of struggles filling in for Anthony Richardson, but I think he's played better overall than Mitch Trubisky has shown. So I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts at home to get their 8th win of the season and knock off the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-14. Then on the night game on Saturday night in the NFL on NFL Network, you've got the Denver Broncos traveling to the Detroit Lions. This is going to be a really good game. Detroit's been struggling lately. They've lost to the Green Bay Packers. They just lost to the Chicago Bears, whereas Denver, they were 1-5 at one point. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. Russell Wilson's been playing much better football. Denver was able to get a win last week. The key is if Detroit plays like they did earlier in the season, they should win this game. They're at home, but I don't know what's going on. They have not looked as good the last couple of weeks. Jared Goff's been struggling. He's been more turnover prone. If that continues, I don't think they're going to be able to win this game. I'm going to back the Denver Broncos, who have been playing much better football than the Lions lately, to go on the road and get their 8th win of the season, beating the Detroit Lions 21-17 on Saturday Night Football in the NFL. Now to move on to the traditional Sunday games, you got the Chicago Bears traveling to the Cleveland Browns. Chicago's 5-8. They got a big win last week over the Detroit Lions. Justin Fields played much better, and that was a big win to keep Chicago faintly alive for the playoffs, even though their chances are very slim. Cleveland, even though they've had a revolving door at quarterback with Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker, Joe Flacco, Dorian Thompson-Robinson all starting at quarterback at some point this season, Cleveland's still managing to win games. Joe Flacco played really well last week in the Cleveland Browns win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've been very impressed with his performance, and if Joe Flacco at the age of 38 can continue to play well, and that was just not a one-off performance, Chicago, even though they got a big win last week, I don't know if they'll be able to keep it up for a second straight week. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns to beat the Chicago Bears 27-14. Then you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to the Green Bay Packers. Both of these teams are 6-7. They need a win. The Bucs were able to knock off the Atlanta Falcons last week in a huge win for them in the NFC South that has helped propel them to possibly have a shot to win that division if they can keep stacking up wins. wins, whereas the Packers, they struggled last week in a loss to the New York Giants. Jordan Love regressed. He did not play as well in that game. But it's tough for a team like Tampa Bay to go up to Lambeau Field at this time of year where it's very cold. Baker Mayfield, though, he was the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, so he is used to cold weather. But will his whole entire team be ready for that environment? I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers because they're at home to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-21. But if it was at Tampa Bay, I would have gone with the Buccaneers. Then up next, you got the Houston Texans traveling to the Tennessee Titans. The Texans have been looking good this year, but what happened last week in their loss to the New York Jets? That was an abysmal loss, 30-6. Their defense didn't play that well. CJ Stroud struggled. Then he got knocked out with a concussion, so he's questionable for this game. Davis Mills would have to start if CJ Stroud cannot play. Because of all that uncertainty, it makes it really tough to pick Houston. If they had to beat the Jets and CJ Stroud was not in concussion protocol right now, and even if he plays, he might not even be 100%. If he was healthy, I would definitely go with the Houston Texans. But Tennessee, they also just got a big win last week over the Miami Dolphins. No one was expecting them to win that game, but Will Levis played well. Their defense stepped up. Derrick Henry has been running on a mission. Even though the Titans are probably not going to make the playoffs unless they practically went out the rest of the way, I think they're going to continue to play hard and get their second straight win in a row and beat the Houston Texans 24-21. Then up next, you got the New York Jets traveling to the Miami Dolphins. The New York Jets, they're 5-8, and the Dolphins are 9-4. The Jets got a huge win last week against the Texans, and the Miami Dolphins last week, they slipped up against the Tennessee Titans. That was a surprising loss for the Dolphins, who have been playing really well. Granted, Tyreek Hill did get injured in the game, and he's questionable for this one, and Miami's offense is nowhere near as good when Tyreek Hill is not in the lineup. That is very apparent. But even though I did go with the Tennessee Titans to knock off the Houston Texans, the upstart Titans getting that big win, I think it will carry over. I don't think the New York Jets will be able to carry that over and beat the Miami Dolphins on the road. I think Miami will bounce back with or without Tyreek Hill, but I am banking that Tyreek Hill will return. And Zach Wilson is questionable for the Jets as well. He's kind of banged up, so that would be tough if the Jets don't have him. But even with Zach Wilson, I'm still going to go with the Miami Dolphins to beat the New York Jets 28-17 for the Dolphins to get their 10th win of the season. Then you got the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to the New England Patriots. This game shouldn't be close, right? I know New England just got a big win last week, but Bill Belichick, it's been reported that they're parting ways with him after the season, that he will no longer be the head coach. So that's wild news there. So will that set the New England Patriots back and have them playing worse football again, knowing that their coach is going to be gone after the season? Bailey Zappi, he has filled in admirably for Mac Jones, but still, Bailey Zappi, I don't think is going to be enough to help lead the Patriots to victory. But Kansas City, though, what's going on? They're not playing as good of football lately. Is it the Taylor Swift stuff? Is Travis Kelce distracted? Is Patrick Mahomes distracted? I don't know if the limelight's getting to the Chiefs, but they're not playing as well lately. We know the receiving core is struggling really badly. Kadarius Toney lining up off sides is what cost the Chiefs the win last week against the Bills. But I do believe the Chiefs, despite all the issues going on, they're going to bounce back and beat the New England Patriots 21-10. Then you got the New York Giants traveling to the New Orleans Saints. Both of these teams are under 500. The Giants are 5-8, and the Saints are 6-7. The Giants got the big win last week over the Green Bay Packers. Tommy DeVito played well. Despite the Giants' offensive line issues, he still did a really good job. Derek Carr, he's been injured all season long, not 100%. He struggled last week against the Carolina Panthers, but the Panthers are so awful that the Saints won anyway fairly easily. They're in a three-way tie with the Falcons and the Bucks in the NFC South, so I think the Saints are going to do everything they possibly can to win because they want to be able to make the playoffs. They're at home, and the Giants are not the greatest offensive team in the world. I'll go with the Saints to beat the Giants 22-17 for the Saints to get back to 500. Then you got the Atlanta Falcons traveling to the Carolina Panthers. This is the guaranteed game that I've been right every single week, basically. Pick against the Carolina Panthers. If you don't pick the Panthers, you're going to get the game right. Atlanta's 6-7. They're not the greatest offensive team in the world. Desmond Ritter's not perfect, but Atlanta has a lot more weapons on offense than the Panthers do. Bryce Young has been struggling mightily, way worse than CJ Stroud has. The Panthers defense, albeit not the worst in the NFL by no means, they actually have some solid players. Carolina's offense just cannot do enough to win. I'm going to go with the Falcons to also move back to 500 like the New Orleans Saints and get a win over the Carolina Panthers 17-10. Then you've got the Washington Commanders traveling to the Los Angeles Rams to start the 4 o'clock games in the NFL. The Commanders are 4-9. They're basically out of the playoff race, and the Rams are 6-7, so they still have something to play for. Matthew Stafford, he has been in and out of the lineup this season, but he's back now. He's playing better football. Sam Howell's struggling. Washington's defense can't really slow down many teams, and because of that, I think the Rams are going to be able to put up some points in this game. I think the Rams are going to get back to 500 to beat the Washington Commanders 28-14. Then you got the San Francisco 49ers traveling to the Arizona Cardinals. This should be a fairly easy game to pick as well. I know Arizona, they've been playing a little bit better with Kyler Murray. They've got a couple of wins, but as long as San Francisco doesn't revert back to their 3-game losing streak after they started 5-0, then they lost 3 in a row. Now they've won 5 more in a row. Is this going to be the start of another losing streak? As long as the San Francisco 49ers do not do that, and they play well like they have been the last few weeks. Brock Purdy's been immaculate. Deebo Samuel's lighting up Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. If they just play well on the road, they should get an easy win over the Arizona Cardinals, 35-14. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys traveling to the Buffalo Bills at 4:25 p.m. on Fox. This should be a great game because the Bills, they're 7-6. They've got some life after a big win last week over the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Now they're back at home, and Dallas, they always struggle on the road usually, especially against teams that play competent football. Dallas does a much better job at home, and Dallas, they destroyed the Philadelphia Eagles last week at home, and Dallas has been playing much better football. Dak Prescott is putting up great stats, some of the best stats he ever has in his career. Dallas's defense is playing better. As long as Dallas plays like they did last week and they can carry that type of performance on the road against the Buffalo Bills, I think they can win. The Bills, you know they're going to play hard, though, because they're on a mission to make the playoffs. Josh Allen is playing really well, but I'm going to go with Dak Prescott to find a way late in the fourth quarter to lead a touchdown winning drive against the Buffalo Bills, 28-24, for Dallas to get their 11th win of the season and for the Bills to fall back to 500. Then you got on NBC on Sunday Night Football, you got the Baltimore Ravens traveling to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This could be a great game. Baltimore's 10-3. Jacksonville is 8-5. The Jaguars suffered a tough setback last week, losing to the Cleveland Browns. Trevor Lawrence did play despite the high ankle sprain, and he wasn't perfect, but you got to commend him for playing through it, not missing his first NFL game ever. He played admirably, but he just could not get the win. Baltimore, though, they're a great team at home. They were able to squeak out a win against the Los Angeles Rams last week. Their defense was not able to slow down Matthew Stafford. If Trevor Lawrence is a bit more healthy this week, then I think the Jaguars are going to be able to put up some points, and they could get a big win at home to get their season back on track, get their 9th win of the year. But I believe that Baltimore is just going to be a little bit too much with Trevor Lawrence not being 100% and Lamar Jackson playing some of the best football of his career like Dak Prescott. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to squeak out a narrow win on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars, 31-23, for the Ravens to get their 11th win of the year and for the Jaguars to fall to 8-6. Then to move on to Monday Night Football, there's only one game this week. You don't have the doubleheader this week since you've got the triple header on Saturday. You've got the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle is in desperate need of a win. They are 6-7, and with a loss here, they could be on their way out of the playoff conversation. So you know Pete Carroll's going to have his team fired up and ready to play. Geno Smith not having as great of a year as he had last year. Still got all the talent in the world around him, but he needs to find a way to connect with that talent. And Seattle's defense needs to step up as well because they gave up a lot of points the last couple weeks. Philadelphia, however, they're 10-3, but they've been struggling lately. They've lost their last 2 games. What's going on with Philly? They look like the 49ers when they hit that skid earlier in the year, and they look like the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Jalen Hurts, is he 100%? He's been struggling a bit, not playing as sharp as he was earlier on in the season, so definitely health might be a bit of an issue there for Jalen Hurts. But if Philadelphia can play like we know they can, they've got all the talent in the world on both sides of the ball. It is very tough to win in Seattle, and I definitely believe that Seattle's going to show up to play to try to get back to 500 and stay in the playoff race. But I'm going to go with the Eagles to bounce back and win at Seattle 24-21 for the Eagles to move to 11-3 on the year and for the Seahawks to fall to 6-8 and in danger of falling out of the NFL playoff hunt. Now, those are the Week 15 games in the NFL. This is a loaded slate. Even the games that are not that great have some intrigue, and there's a lot of matchups that are going to be very important for the NFL playoff race. Teams that lose might play their way out. Teams that win might play their way in. So these results are very important for the playoff race, and there's going to be a lot of fun action, even with a triple header on Saturday. So the NFL, they're pulling out all the stops from Thursday to Monday, having some great games all across the board, and it should be a lot of fun to see what's going going to happen this week. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this loaded Week 15 slate in the NFL, which teams you think are going to win and which teams you think are going to lose, and what you think about the playoff hunt and how you think the playoff hunt is going to shake out. And let me know what you guys think about my picks for every single Week 15 game in the NFL. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.